Nicole Ganier, Vice President of Operations with Equus Workforce Solutions. I'm joined with Erick Serrato, Executive Director of the Merced County Workforce Development Board.
Yeah, good morning.
Good to see you this morning.
Absolutely.
Hey, it's been about 8 months since you've been in your position. We started out around the same time. And
yes.
So how is it going? How has it been?
Yeah, for me personally, it's been great. So I moved back into the Central Valley after having moved away for the last 25 years. So for me, it's a big coming home of sorts. And I've been welcomed by my community, by my workforce development board, by all of my colleagues within the county. And I've just really enjoyed coming back into my hometown.
That is so wonderful. What's been the biggest surprise in your new position?
Yeah, I think it was a little weird starting a new job during COVID, right? So that was completely different. So everything was shut down. Also happened to be winter, so it was a little gray.
Sure.
So I think maybe one of the biggest surprises is just how everything is opening up, and not just sort of businesses, but also, innovation and imagination and people's ideas of what is possible is just really fresh and new. And that's been, I think, a really great surprise.
You and I have had great conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout workforce development. What has been your reception as a diverse executive director in this space?
Yes, so I am Latino. Merced County is a Latino county. It's 62% Latino. I'm actually also a member of the LGBTQ community.
Happy Pride Month.
Yeah, and it's Pride Month. So that is a little different for Merced. But I've been welcomed. I've been welcomed by everyone in my organization and again in my community. I think a lot of workforce boards and organizations are looking at diversity anew. It's been something that's been, part of the fabric of our work. We always want to help uplift underrepresented communities, but the way that we do it and the attention that we've been paying to it now is certainly different. In our organization, we've been taking a look at our data. We've been looking at if there's any difference or gaps in how different ethnic populations are doing in our system. We're looking at their median wage gains, their placement numbers, their completion rates in training to understand if there are any differences and if there's anything that's happening in our service level that is either contributing to that or holding people back.
Sure.
Luckily, what we know to be true in Merced is that all of our systems are really attuned to helping those that are struggling the most advance the fastest. But like many organizations, there's still a lot of work that we can do.
What I so appreciate about you, Erick, and Merced County's Workforce Board is that you guys don't just talk, right? You are about the analytics and the data and making sure that you all are breaking down the barriers. So many people are just talking about that hot topic of DE&I. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts about that, because so many boards, it's the hot topic, right? But they're not doing anything really about it. They're not serious about really diving into it. How do we hold them accountable?
Yeah, it's an interesting space. So I am new at the job. I came from Long Beach, which was much more urban, sort of much more centered in these conversations. They've been known sort of to be a progressive area and city. And I came to one that is really just beginning to grapple sort of with these issues. Again, the community there is incredibly welcoming. We are home to UC Merced, which has a very diverse student population. So that's actually made us more diverse than some of our neighboring communities. And we've really grown to appreciate that. In terms of holding businesses and other stakeholders accountable, I think you really meet people where they're at. Oftentimes we get really stuck on these fancy words like, equity and diversity and inclusion, but really it's about, respect and dignity. And so when I approach those topics, that's really what I talk about is how are we treating everyone fairly? How are we developing systems and services that really honor an individual's dignity? And how are we paying attention to the data to make sure that everyone is getting equitable access to the opportunities that they want? So I try to sort of break down away from the terms, particularly in the community that I serve, and get everyone to understand that it's really just about fairness and about access to the American dream.
So what is Central California experiencing right now? We are all talking about the battle for talent, right? The talent shortage. What are you all experiencing at this moment?
Yeah, so Central California is in a really interesting spot. So we have a regional planning unit that includes 8 different workforce development boards, and all of my colleagues do an amazing job at meeting people where they're at. The extended unemployment insurance benefits has affected different parts of California differently. I think California, in a lot of ways, is a microcosm of the entire nation. So the urban areas are affected completely differently than the rural and northern part of the state. So what we've been looking at is how it's affecting us. So we know that in many cases, those sort of extended UI
Mm-hmm.
benefits um, does seem to be suppressing labor participation rates in different communities within the county because they're earning or they're receiving just as much as they might earn at that job that they've had. So, some people are making really informed decisions and they're deciding to sort of stick it out. Some people have not been able to return to the workforce because they're still, juggling, taking care of their kids and,
Right.
and working remotely, lots of different situations. But we've had really robust conversations as a workforce board in terms of what signals we're paying attention to and how we come together to encourage people to re-enter the workforce as quickly as possible. And that's included conversations with the County Office of Education and their work in communicating to parents that schools are safe, that there are resources during the summer where they can send their kids, which would then enable them to go back to work. I've been having conversations at community forums
Mm-hmm.
just about the value of returning to work now versus waiting until September, particularly if you aren't the most competitive candidate in regular times. This is a great time to lean into that job market because employers are really eager to hire. Not only are they going to hire you faster than they would have, but they're going to promote you and advance you in that career faster than they would have 2 years ago. So it really is a time to really think about your options. If you are thinking about seeing it out, we tell our residents, just go into the AJCC, have a conversation with a TDS, and look at your options. If you're not quite ready to go back into the job market, this is a really great time to develop your skills, to take a course at the community college, to think about other ways that you might even contribute to your community. So we're even doing things like partnerships with the registrar of voters to get
Mm-hmm.
people to volunteer in their community as poll workers or help in other ways. This is not a time to just kind of sit it out. It's a time to really plug yourself back in.
Sure, sure. We are always talking about in our company and throughout the organization about marketing and making sure that people understand what and who workforce development is. Sometimes it's kind of the best little known secret, right? People understand the workforce online ads like Indeed.com to go to a job. To look for a job or temp staffing agencies. But sometimes they don't know to go to one-stop centers and the workforce centers. What are you guys doing in Merced County to make sure that people know where to go and making sure that you're tapping into as many people, right? Casting that net out so people know where to go for help.
Yeah, sure. So I'd start by saying that this is a period of great disruption. So workforce boards across the country, and certainly at this conference today, are really discussing all of the changes that have brought on, not just by COVID, but by all kinds of technological advancements that really makes our work differently. There's also a lot more Indeeds and ZipRecruiters and Monster.coms than there ever have been. So there are more resources for our job seekers. So one of the first things that we've done at the Workforce Development Board is really understand our role. And I often tell folks that we are the connective tissue in our community that really, is the conduit to everything workforce related. So we use our power as conveners, as labor market analysts to communicate and organize information for folks so that they understand that, so that all of our partners are on the same page. In terms of encouraging people to come into our job centers, I often talk to my partners at the job center that we need to rethink our role as well. We are not the only game in town. We are not the only source for that information. So we need to think of ourselves more like navigators. A lot of what you might find at the job center. Some of that is on YouTube. Some of that is with all of these other online technologies. And we want to be a conduit to all of those opportunities. So I often tell people that they should come into a job center, participate in orientation, think about the partnership that they're going to have with this talent development specialist, where they want to go, what their long-term plan is.
Sure.
Walk in with that idea and have a conversation and really think about it like a partnership that's a long-term partnership to get you where you want to go. It's not just about job leads or a scholarship for a training. It really is an opportunity to recalibrate and think about what you want to be doing 5 years from now.
So Erick, I want you to put your consulting hat on.
Okay.
For all of you that don't know, Erick served as a consultant for many years.
I was.
So what do you see on the horizons for Central California, as well as our state, for the next, say, 6 months, leading us between now and the end of the year? What do you see out there?
Yeah, so the first thing you know is that Central California is just the most beautiful place in all of the world.
It is.
So
it
if
is.
you haven't been, you've really got to go. Central California and Merced County in particular is facing a lot of economic change. So we are now sort of considered a suburb of the San Francisco Bay Area. For a long time, that wasn't the case, but now people are finding that they need to move even farther in order to find affordable housing. So now we've become this sort of suburb of that sort of metropolis. That's one thing that's changing the makeup of our community. There's also a lot of economic change that's happening with our sectors. So everyone knows that we are an ag capital. I'm proud to say that we are the sweet potato capital of the world. But we also do a lot of dairy. In fact, 31% of our ag commodity comes from dairy. About 14% comes from almonds. We all love almonds. So whether you're drinking almond milk or sort of the real stuff, we've got you covered. But even the mix of jobs is changing as people come into our area, as the University of California, Merced, continues to grow and introduces new technologies and new professionals. Our fabric of what a Merced County worker is adjusting. And so the next 6 months, we'll just continue to see an acceleration of that. We also know that nationally, 15% of all businesses that shut down during the pandemic will not come back. And so we are looking to see if our businesses are able to bounce back or if we're also seeing some of those deficits. So I think the next 6 months between now and Christmas time, we'll be seeing, what that looks like for the future. We are one of the fastest growing counties in the state, in the top 5 we have been over the last few years. So I think we'll just continue to see a lot of growth. And with that growth, our role will expand too as we connect people to even more diverse jobs, as we consider what it means to be a remote worker, as we consider what it means to attract talent and keep our college graduates in our own community. I think that's what I and the board will be focused on for the next 6 months.
Erick, thank you. Thank you so much for stopping by
Yes,
this
it's been
morning.
great.
And thank you for joining us at Live at the Forum.